You know, the way a civilization builds, it tells you everything about what it values, from these really practical cities for its people, all the way to cosmic mountains for its gods. The story of Indian architecture is really a journey into the heart of its philosophy, its engineering, and its spiritual ambition.
So our story kicks off more than 4,500 years ago in the fertile plains of the Indus River, and it begins with one of the ancient world's most fascinating, well, scientific mysteries.
So here's the puzzle, right? This is the central paradox of a place called Mohenjo-Daro. We found all this evidence of a vast, sophisticated, and incredibly organized city, but archaeologists haven't found a single palace, no grand royal tombs, no giant statues of kings. It kind of suggests a society that was run not by one all-powerful ruler, but maybe by a council or a group of priests. So who was in charge, and what did they build instead of palaces?
Yeah, this place wasn't just thrown together. I mean, it was master planned, and you can see the evidence everywhere. Think about it. They used standardized bricks across an area spanning hundreds of miles. They engineered covered sewer systems built on a precise grade to make sure everything drained properly. And the houses, they're all remarkably similar in size, which points to a society that cared more about social equity than it did about glorifying a ruling class. The whole focus was on civic function for everybody, not monuments for just a few.
And this is where it gets really interesting. At the very same time that the Egyptians were pouring all their resources into building colossal pyramids as tombs for their god kings, the largest, most important structure in Mohenjo-Daro was something completely different, a meticulously built public bath. Their architectural masterpiece wasn't for a dead ruler, it was for the living community.
And we're not talking about a small puddle here. The Great Bath was huge, 12 meters long by 7 meters wide. It was lined with waterproof bitumen, a kind of natural tar, and it clearly had a central role in their society, most likely for ritual purification. This one structure tells us their highest priority was the community's well-being and spiritual cleanliness. All that engineering skill was serving the public.
So after the Indus Valley civilization fades, this whole new way of thinking starts to emerge in India. And with it comes a totally new purpose for architecture. The goal wasn't just to house people anymore. It was to map the entire cosmos and build a literal home for the gods themselves.
And if you want to understand the architecture that comes next, you have to understand one single concept, the mandala. Now, the word is Sanskrit for circle, but it's so much more than that. It's a spiritual diagram of the universe, a map of cosmic order. But for the architects of ancient India, it was also something incredibly practical.
Right. This wasn't just some abstract idea to meditate on. The mandala became the literal blueprint for sacred buildings. There was this ancient architectural manual, the Vastu Shastra, that laid out all the precise rules, everything from picking the right site to the dimensions of the materials, for turning this cosmic diagram into a physical building, using a strict grid to align the whole space with the heavens. Okay, so how would you actually do this? Well, you'd start with that sacred grid, the Vastu Mandala. Then, you would align the entire building with the cardinal directions, north, south, east, west, connecting it to the path of the sun. The temple itself was designed to be a symbolic mountain, Mount Meru, the center of the spiritual universe. And most importantly, the inner sanctum was created as a literal home for a deity like Vishnu or Shiva.
And this right here, this quote just sums it all up perfectly. See, unlike a church or a mosque that's designed to hold big crowds of people, the main purpose of a Hindu temple was to be a dwelling place for the divine. The worshippers basically approaching the god in their own home. The architecture is an act of divine hospitality.
Okay, so then Buddhism comes onto the scene, and it brings with it a totally different philosophy. And that philosophy, well, it demanded entirely new kinds of architecture. This wasn't about housing a god anymore. It was about representing the path to enlightenment.
The most iconic Buddhist structure is the Stupa, like the incredible Great Stupa at Sanche. What's so revolutionary about it is that it's not a building you enter. It's a solid, dome-shaped mound, and it often contains sacred relics. The act of worship is all on the outside. You walk around it in a clockwise direction. It's a practice called circumambulation, and it's like a physical meditation on the Buddhist path.
But for my money, the most mind-blowing engineering feat from this period has to be the development of rock-cut architecture. Instead of building up with stone, Buddhist monks started carving down. They excavated entire temple complexes, prayer halls, and monasteries directly out of solid mountain cliffs. Places like Ajanta and the Karla caves are just breathtaking.
And just to give you a sense of scale here,
The main prayer hall at the Karla Caves is 38 meters long. That's more than 120 feet. It's a type of structure known as a chaitya, and every single part of it, the columns, the vaulted ceiling, the stupa at the far end, it was all meticulously chipped away from the living rock. This wasn't construction. It was subtractive sculpture on a truly monumental scale.
You know, ideas this big, this powerful, the cosmic mountain, the mandala, they don't just stay in one place. They started to spread all across Southeast Asia, and they inspired new structures on an even grander scale, with even more complexity.
I mean, just look at Borobudur in Indonesia. It's a man-made mountain. It's a giant three-dimensional mandala that pilgrims literally climb to ascend towards enlightenment. The numbers here are just staggering. You can see it on the slide. We're talking about a structure built with over 1,500 individual stupas and decorated with almost 1,500 carved panels telling stories. It's incredible. And really, this all leads to the big one, Angkor Wat in Cambodia. This is, quite simply, the largest religious monument on the entire planet. It's where that Hindu concept of the Temple Mountain reaches its absolute peak, a perfect stone replica of the cosmic order, surrounded by huge moats that represent the mythical oceans of the universe.
So when you step back and look at this whole incredible journey, what's the big takeaway? Well, what we see is a civilization's changing priorities carved in stone, evolving from this deep concern for civic order and public welfare to a profound quest to represent the divine.
It's really a story about ambition, isn't it? It started with something as humble as the perfect, standardized brick, designed to build a fair and functional city for everyone, and it evolved into the monumental, mind-bending task of engineering the perfect, sacred mountain, a home truly worthy of the gods.